For decades, we've been told a simple story about heart disease. Cholesterol is the villain. We've been taught to fear it, to lower it, and to believe that a low number on a lab report means we are safe. But what if that story is incomplete? What if the intense focus on cholesterol has caused us to miss the real culprits? This is a critical question because a staggering number of people who suffer a heart attack have cholesterol levels that are considered normal or even optimal by the current guidelines. I understand how confusing and frankly frustrating this can be. You follow the advice, you cut back on certain foods, you take your medication as prescribed, yet a sense of worry might still linger. You might know someone, a friend, a family member, perhaps even yourself, who did everything right and still faced a cardiac event. This can leave you feeling powerless, and it's perfectly okay to feel that way. According to one of the nation's most forward-thinking cardiologists, the key to understanding your true heart risk isn't found by looking at one number in isolation. Instead, it's about understanding a system. Over the next 25 minutes, we will pull back the curtain on this outdated myth. I promise to show you the 3 hidden drivers of heart disease that are far more important than your total cholesterol number. And most importantly, I will give you a clear, evidence-based plan to address them. Stay with me, because what you're about to learn could change the way you think about your health forever. To begin, we must deconstruct the common misconception that has dominated our thinking for more than half a century. It's often called the diet-heart hypothesis or the lipid hypothesis. The idea is simple. Eating foods high in saturated fat and cholesterol raises your blood cholesterol, which then clogs your arteries like grease building up in a pipe. But this is a vast oversimplification of a complex biological process. The reality is, cholesterol is not an enemy. It is a substance so vital to life that your body manufactures it. Your liver produces around 75 to 80% of the cholesterol in your bloodstream. It is a critical component of every single cell membrane in your body. It's essential for producing hormones like testosterone and estrogen, for synthesizing vitamin D, and for the healthy function of your brain. Your body even has a sophisticated system to regulate cholesterol levels. When you eat less cholesterol from food, your liver produces more to compensate. When you eat more, your liver produces less. It is a finely tuned system designed for balance. Now, I know it can be unsettling to hear that decades of common advice might be flawed. It's perfectly okay to feel a bit skeptical or even confused. But what I want you to remember is that knowledge is power. Understanding the full picture is the first step toward taking true control of your health. To illustrate this, let me share a story that this cardiologist often tells. It's about a patient we'll call Robert, a 68-year-old man. Robert was the model patient. For 20 years, he diligently avoided red meat and egg yolks. He ate a low-fat diet, just as he was told. His lab reports were a source of pride. Yet one Tuesday morning, Robert had a major heart attack. When his doctors looked deeper, beyond that single LDL number, the real story emerged. While his LDL was low, his triglycerides, a type of fat in the blood, were over 200. His HDL, the good cholesterol, was dangerously low, below 40, and his fasting blood sugar was in the pre-diabetic range. Robert didn't have a cholesterol problem. Robert's story is not an anomaly. It's a reflection of a much larger trend. A landmark national study, published in the American Heart Journal, looked at over 136,000 patients who were hospitalized for a heart attack. The findings were stunning. Nearly 75% of these patients had LDL cholesterol levels that were within the safe recommended guidelines. In fact, almost half of them had LDL levels that were considered optimal, below 100 milligrams per deciliter. This is a critical piece of the puzzle. It tells us that while LDL cholesterol can be a part of the story, it is clearly not the whole story. Something else is driving the risk for the majority of people. And that something else is what we will focus on today. So, if cholesterol isn't the primary driver, what is? The first, and perhaps most important, is chronic inflammation. Think of it as a low-grade fire, smoldering quietly inside your blood vessels. Our first strategy, then, is to extinguish that fire. For years, heart disease was seen as a plumbing problem, a simple blockage. But leading cardiologists and researchers now understand it as a chronic inflammatory disease. This inflammation is the body's response to injury, and it can damage the delicate, single-cell thick lining of your arteries, known as the endothelium. This damage creates a rough, sticky surface where problems can begin. The most powerful tool we have to control this fire is not in the medicine cabinet, but in the kitchen. The primary way to reduce chronic inflammation is through an anti-inflammatory diet. This isn't a complicated or restrictive plan. It's a pattern of eating that focuses on whole, unprocessed foods. It's a diet rich in antioxidants and polyphenols, which are protective compounds found in colorful fruits and vegetables. It emphasizes healthy omega-3 fats from sources like wild-caught salmon, sardines, walnuts, and flax seeds. And it is high in fiber, which nourishes the healthy bacteria in your gut that play a role in regulating inflammation. This stands in stark contrast to a pro-inflammatory diet, which is heavy in sugar, refined carbohydrates like white bread and pasta, and processed seed oils like soybean and corn oil. These foods are the fuel for the inflammatory fire. I understand that changing your diet can feel like a monumental task. So let's not talk about a complete overhaul. Let's talk about simple swaps. According to dietitians who specialize in cardiac rehabilitation, the easiest place to start is with your snacks and drinks. Instead of reaching for crackers, cookies, or chips, try a handful of walnuts or almonds. Instead of a glass of fruit juice, which is essentially sugar water, have a small bowl of fresh blueberries or strawberries. Each one of these small choices is a step away from inflammation and a step toward healing. Now, here is a common trap that many well-intentioned people fall into. For years, we were told to eat low-fat. This led to a flood of products: low-fat yogurt, low-fat cookies, low-fat salad dressings. The mistake is that when manufacturers remove fat, they almost always add sugar, high fructose corn syrup, and refined flours to make the food palatable. These are precisely the ingredients that fuel the inflammatory fire. A leading cardiologist I spoke with puts it this way: I'd much rather my patients eat full-fat, plain yogurt with no added sugar than the fat-free version that's loaded with it. The focus should be on the quality and wholeness of the food, not just its fat content. Remember, this is a journey. It is not about being perfect tomorrow. It's about being a little bit better than you were yesterday. Be patient and compassionate with yourself. Every meal is a new opportunity to make a choice that serves your health. The second hidden driver of heart disease is a condition called insulin resistance. If chronic inflammation is the fire smoldering in your arteries, then insulin resistance is the gasoline being poured on it. Our second strategy, therefore, is to retrain your body to use fuel efficiently again. Let me explain insulin resistance simply. When you eat carbohydrates, your body breaks them down into glucose, or sugar, which enters your bloodstream. In response, your pancreas releases a hormone called insulin. Insulin's job is to act like a key, unlocking your cells, especially your muscle cells, to let the glucose in for energy. In insulin resistance, your cells become numb or deaf to insulin signal. The key no longer fits the lock easily. Your pancreas senses this and does the only thing it knows how to do. It pumps out more and more insulin to try and force the glucose into the cells. This leads to chronically high levels of insulin in your blood, a condition called hyperinsulinemia. High insulin is a powerful pro-inflammatory signal in the body, and it is a direct driver of the metabolic dysfunction that underlies so much heart disease. The two most powerful ways to reverse this process and restore your body's sensitivity to insulin are, first, reducing your intake of the foods that cause large blood sugar and insulin spikes. The same refined carbohydrates and sugars we identified in our first strategy. And second, engaging in regular physical activity. Exercise makes your muscle cells hungry for glucose, making them much more sensitive to insulin's signal. Now, a common question that arises here is, do I have to start an intense exercise program? I have bad knees, or I haven't been to a gym in 30 years. This is an incredibly important point, and the answer from experts is a resounding no. A physical therapist with over 30 years of experience helping seniors regain mobility and health shared this crucial insight. The most effective exercise for improving insulin sensitivity is often the simplest and most accessible. A 15 to 20-minute walk, especially after a meal, can have a profound effect on your blood sugar. It helps your muscles immediately soak up the glucose from the food you just ate, which gives your pancreas a much-needed break from having to pump out so much insulin. You do not need to be a marathon runner. You just need to be a consistent walker. Let's be honest with ourselves for a moment. Life happens. There will be days, a birthday party, a holiday gathering, or just a tough Tuesday, where the plan goes out the window. This is a common point where people feel they've failed and give up entirely. I want you to hear this and to really take it in. That is not failure. It is life. A leading health psychologist I consulted for this piece advises reframing this experience completely. It's not a failure. Let's pause for a moment and connect what we've learned so far. We started with the confusing problem of cholesterol. We've seen that for most people, that single number isn't the real issue. The real issue is the environment within the body. We've now uncovered the first two hidden drivers of a toxic, disease-promoting environment: chronic inflammation and insulin resistance. It is crucial to see how these first two strategies are not separate ideas, but a powerful, interconnected system. They work together synergistically. Eating an anti-inflammatory diet, our first strategy, calms your entire system down. It reduces the background noise of inflammation. This creates the ideal conditions for gentle, consistent movement. Our second strategy, to work its magic on improving insulin sensitivity. You cannot out-exercise a highly inflammatory diet. But when you combine these two approaches, you create a positive feedback loop that begins to heal your metabolism from two different angles at once. You've already invested nearly 20 minutes in understanding this. That shows a deep commitment to your own well-being, and I want to commend you for that. This is not simple information, but you are grasping it, and that is the most important step. But while calming inflammation and reversing insulin resistance are the foundations of a healthy heart, to truly build a fortress around it, we need to go one level deeper. We need to understand the precise mechanism of how an artery actually becomes diseased. What happens at the microscopic level that begins the dangerous cascade of plaque formation? Because once you understand this final piece of the puzzle, You will not only be protecting yourself from a future heart attack, you will be empowering yourself with knowledge that, frankly, puts you ahead of the curve in understanding the future of heart health. This brings us to our third hidden driver, endothelial dysfunction, and its dangerous partner, oxidized LDL. Imagine your arteries aren't just simple pipes. The inner lining, a delicate layer called the endothelium, is a brilliant, high-tech living surface. In a healthy state, it's incredibly smooth, like Teflon. It actively releases substances, most notably nitric oxide, that keep the artery relaxed, flexible, and open, allowing blood to flow freely. Now, think about what happens when you have chronic inflammation, that smoldering fire, and high insulin levels. They act like sandpaper on this delicate Teflon lining. They scratch it, damage it, and make it dysfunctional. This is endothelial dysfunction. The lining loses its smooth, protective quality and becomes rough and sticky. Now let's bring LDL cholesterol back into the picture. Think of normal LDL particles as delivery trucks, carrying essential fats and cholesterol to cells throughout your body. In a healthy artery with a smooth Teflon lining, these trucks just slide on by, making their deliveries without any issue. But in a damaged, sticky artery, some of these LDL trucks get stuck in the vessel wall. And when they get stuck in that toxic, inflammatory, high-stress environment, they get damaged. They begin to rust, or in scientific terms, they become oxidized. This is the critical transformation. It is not the normal LDL truck that's the problem. So the problem isn't the number of delivery trucks on the road. The problem is the condition of the road itself. When you start to implement the strategies we've discussed, the anti-inflammatory foods, the gentle movement, you begin to heal your endothelium. You reduce the oxidative stress that causes the rusting. The changes won't show up on a standard cholesterol test next week, but you will feel them. The first signs of this healing, according to clinical experts, are often subtle. You might notice your energy levels are more stable throughout the day, without that 3 p.m. slump. You might find your digestion feels calmer and more regular. Your thinking might feel a bit clearer, less foggy. These are the first whispers from your body that the internal fire is dying down, the sandpaper is being put away, and the deep healing has begun. We've journeyed through a lot of information. We've talked about inflammation, insulin resistance, and the inner workings of our arteries. Now, it's time to tie it all together with one single, powerful, unifying principle that makes everything simpler. We started by challenging the idea that lowering cholesterol is the primary goal. So what should the goal be? The ultimate goal is not to lower a number. The goal is to achieve metabolic health. What is metabolic health? It's a simple clinical definition of how well your body processes energy and maintains balance. According to leading institutions like the Mayo Clinic and Johns Hopkins, it's defined by having optimal levels in 5 key areas. First, your blood sugar. And here is the beautiful part. When you stop chasing a single cholesterol number and start focusing on building your overall metabolic health, everything else falls into place. The very same actions that improve your blood sugar and lower your triglycerides, eating whole unprocessed foods and moving your body consistently, are the exact same actions that extinguish inflammation, that reverse insulin resistance, and that heal the delicate lining of your arteries. It is the one goal that addresses all 3 of the hidden drivers of heart disease simultaneously. It shifts the entire paradigm. This is the transformation. You move from a place of fear, worrying about one number on a lab report, to a place of power, actively building a body that is strong, resilient, and balanced from the inside out. This isn't just about preventing disease. So what does this look like day to day? Let's distill everything we've learned into a simple 3-point action plan. This is the kind of plan a progressive, forward-thinking cardiologist would give you to build true, lasting health. 1. Eat real food. This is the cornerstone. Focus on foods that don't need a complicated ingredient label. Colorful vegetables, low-sugar fruits, quality proteins from fish, poultry, and grass-fed animals, and healthy fats from avocados, nuts, seeds, and olive oil. If it grew on a plant or was raised humanely, it's a good choice. 2. Move with purpose. Find a form of movement you genuinely enjoy and do it consistently. A daily walk, especially after meals, is a perfect start. The goal is not to punish your body in a grueling workout, but to energize it and make it more sensitive to its own signals. 3. Prioritize recovery. This is the forgotten pillar of health. Get 7 to 9 hours of quality sleep each night. Find simple ways to manage stress, whether it's through deep breathing, spending time in nature, or connecting with loved ones. This is non-negotiable, as poor sleep and chronic stress directly fuel inflammation and disrupt the hormones that regulate your metabolism. As you begin this journey, I want you to carry these words with you. Be kind to yourself. This is not a pass-fail test. There is no finish line. There is only the next choice, and the choice after that. You have decades of wisdom and life experience. Bring that to this process. Your body holds a deep wisdom too. Begin to listen to it. Trust that you are capable of profound change, because you are. And know that you are not alone on this path. Every person watching this is part of a community seeking the same thing: a long, healthy, and joyful life. Thank you for trusting me with your time and your attention today. It is a privilege to share this vital information with you. We learn best when we learn together. So I have a question for you. Based on what we've discussed today, what is one small, positive change you feel inspired to make? It doesn't have to be monumental. It could be as simple as adding a handful of spinach to your breakfast or taking a 10-minute walk after dinner. Please share your thoughts in the comments below. Your idea might be the very thing that inspires someone else to take their first step. Remember, the first wealth is health. Take care of your body. If you found this information valuable, please give this video a like, share it with someone you care about, and subscribe to the channel for more evidence-based content to help you live your healthiest life.